Hello, everybody out there in Radio Land, and thank you for tuning into The Divide today. We appreciate you listening and tuning in as normal. And you are listening to The Divide with Marcus C. Williams on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. And we are here in your ear talking about the stuff that you need to hear and the conversations that we need to have. This is upstate New York's #1 conservative talk show. Definitely tell your friends and your family and everybody else, tune into The Divide. Mondays, 2:30 to 4 p.m. We thank you guys for tuning in today. If you're tuning in online, please make sure that you hit the like and the share button. The shares don't cost you anything, and it helps out a lot. Now, let's get ready to get into this show. But as per usual, you already know, you might hear some stuff that hurts your feelings or hurt somebody else's feelings. And this show is not for the lily-livered or the soft people that are out there in the world, because I guarantee you at some point, somebody somewhere is going to be offended. Now, let's get into it. Man, if we had a lot of stuff going on in the last week since we talked last, so much going on all over the world and here right at home. One of the biggest things in everybody's lips right now are tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. Some people love the tariffs. Some people hate the tariffs. Some people don't know what a tariff is. Actually, I think that's most people don't know what a tariff is, honestly. But, you know, when you get the news and the TV to tell you exactly what a tariff is, then you'd have to actually have them doing some sort of actual service to the public. And of course, they don't want to do that. Now, let's go into brief on what a tariff is and what it does. So a tariff is conceptually a increased margin that is, it's think of it like a import tax, right, on the country of origin. So right now, there are a number of countries across the world that have very high tariffs on the U.S., and it's not good. Now, in our current administration, they've decided, okay, well, we're going to push back and we're going to use tariffs as a way to use leverage, since we manufacture a lot of goods that people want, but more so than anything, we import a lot of goods that people want. So we'll use that as a way, as a leverage to actually get them to do some of the things that we want that will make it more beneficial for the United States, especially on trade. So right now we see a lot of stuff going on with the conversation in relation to tariffs. Now people will say, oh, well, tariffs are good or tariffs are bad. Well, let's take a look at that and see what it is. Is a tariff bad? No. The concept of a tariff is to either collect revenue from a country that's that's sending goods to your country, or to be used as a protectionist measure to protect your own economy in your country. So I'll give you an example. Japan has like a 300 and something % tariff on rice, right? So essentially they don't import any rice from anywhere because they want Japanese rice to be bought and sold in Japan. They don't want any other country to bring in their rice. So they have very high tariffs. Then that 300% is on American rice. So Americans just basically can't sell rice over there. I mean, you can, but if you do sell rice over there, you're talking about a very high extra amount that it'll cost over what people would pay for local production as far as rice goes. So that's an example there. Now, you also have, that's protecting a whole industry, right? That's protecting the whole rice industry. And knowing that rice is crucial to Japanese culture and the Japanese way of life, the government of Japan has made sure that they can shore that up and that there won't be any issues there. So that's a positive thing for them. Now, in the US, one of the big things that's trying to be pushed by our president is he's trying to get them to return essentially what you would say is industry, right? Manufacturing, production, and stuff like that to our nation stateside. So in order to do that, one of the fulcrums that he's using, one of the pressure points he's using is tariffs. So he's like, listen, one thing of this, I want steel production back in the US, right? Because steel is used to produce ships, planes, boats, okay, manufacturing equipment, and pretty much a very large majority of a lot of things. Back in the 80s and stuff like that, the steel industry really started to shudder after Japan entered the American steel market. So that was a very, very serious problem. And Japan was subsidizing their steel companies very much so that they could produce at a lower cost and that they could basically push the US out of the steel market, which caused a number of plants across our nation to close down. And that's a problem that we have up until today. Now, the president has this deal going on with US Steel and Nippon Steel. Nippon is Japan. So Nippon is Japan. That's the name that they call Japan. Okay. So Nippon Steel is Japan Steel. So Nippon Steel wanted to buy what was left of US Steel, and Biden was like, no. And Trump was like, yeah, that's not what's happening either. You know? So in order to do something to make it where US Steel could be reinvested in, they said, okay, well, we'll allow you to invest in US Steel. So now they're investing something like $40 billion in US Steel. That was announced over the weekend. So that's a very, very cool thing. And hopefully it works out very well. But back to the tariff situation. Over the weekend, you know, the president came out and Trump was like, yeah, China's already violated our trade talks already because they've gone against stuff that they said during this, I believe it's a 90-day pause. It might be 60-day. I forget how long it is. That Trump said that he was going to peel back the actual overarching tariffs on China. See, they put a lot of tariffs on China because it was important, because China is selling a whole bunch of goods here in the US cheap. And China has a large section of what used to be American manufacturing. A lot of the stuff, pretty much most of the stuff, like you've heard, I'm sure people say, oh, everything here is made in China. Well, that's because manufacturing is now largely focused in China versus how it was in the US previous to 1990. So this is a very big deal. That's also a lot of jobs, right? But more than jobs, it also affects telecom, internet infrastructure, energy infrastructure, and a number of other things, meaning that it's all manufactured in China, so China has control over it. China is our enemy, and I'm not able to say that enough. I've been saying that for years when Trump was like, oh, well, China's just a competitor. No, they're not a competitor. They are our enemy. They want us erased from the face of the earth. They are not a competitor. China is our enemy, and they have been for decades, really for the crux of time, you know. But that's a whole deeper conversation into the history of the China, how it is now, which is worth another show. But if you guys are watching online, please hit like, please hit share, and definitely get this out there to more people. Drop a comment. We'll try to get you engaged in the conversation, and we'll pop you up on the screen, and we can have this conversation together as we have these great talks. So let's do it, and let's get right back into it. Now, as we talk about the manufacturing that's all been moved over to China, we have to understand that right now we have a serious issue where we're short on a lot of production ability, right? Like not just jobs, like of course manufacturing and stuff has jobs that goes along with it, but production ability. Like we no longer have the factories and the stuff like that we need. I live in a town, and in our town, we used to be a major manufacturing hub for film, for different types of food, Campbell's soup, French's mustard, and a whole bunch of other things and stuff like that. And because of unfair business practices in New York State by our continued government, I guess, encroachment on our business realm, and because of them exporting jobs across state and country lines into other places, we lost a lot of our manufacturing. So we're as you would say, a depressed state, you know? And it's very bad because they call it the Rust Belt for a reason, because all of the manufacturing that was here is gone. So this is a serious issue. Now, with the tariffs, the concept is hopefully we'll get more reinvestment, which we've got trillions of dollars of new investment into the United States, which is absolutely fantastic because of these tariffs. And now we've got all of these promise of investment. But the thing is, we need to have an environment that's friendly for businesses and manufacturing plants to actually build in our various states and counties. And my country, my country, my state right now, New York, is trash, man. They're running everybody out. They just ran, what was it? Who did they run out of here? One of the gun manufacturers, they ran out of the state just like the end of last year. I see somebody commented. Okay, let me see if I can pop this comment up. I'll pop your comment up in a moment. Who's this, Kim? Kim, I'll pop your comment up in a second. Yeah, matter of fact, I'll pop it up now because I think you might be talking about something we're talking about. Walmart twisted manufacturing companies to sell out to China. Rubbermaid was one of the first. Craftsman is another. Thank you, Kim. That's very important. Pop that up on the stage so people can see it. Yeah, that's very important, Kim. And now, if you guys don't know about Walmart, Walmart used to only sell American-made products. Let me say that again because some of us aren't old enough to remember that or to even be alive for that time. Walmart used to only sell American-made products. That's an important thing. And we need to go back to selling only American-made products in a number of different businesses in the US. We need to go back to using only American products. But in order to do that, we have to bring back manufacturing here. And that's an important thing. But to do that, part of the plan by the current administration is to use tariffs to incentivize that. But it's not just the federal government alone. And I talk about this a lot, and I encourage you always get active locally because that's where you can make a real difference on the local level. Go to your local school board meetings, city council, county ledge, whatever interests you locally, fire district, whatever you can to start to get active locally so you can understand what's going on in the political process locally. A lot of people say this and it bothers me so bad. They'll say things like, oh, well, I don't want to get political. It doesn't matter if you want to get political or not. Everything is political. You know, let me explain it to you like this. Everything is political from your toilet going flush to your garbage getting picked up to your streets getting plowed. Okay. If you don't think that that affects you, the outside lights for the street lighting is political. The roads, political. The water in your house, political. All of it is political. So when somebody tells you, oh, I don't want to get political, it doesn't matter if you want to get political or not. We live in a day and age where essentially government has such a great tight grip on absolutely everything that there's no way to get out of politics. Everything is political. And then the majority of people's issues, no matter where you go in the nation, but especially where I live in Rochester, New York, are things like crime. Well, that's political. You know, who makes the laws to lock the criminals up or how long the sentences are or what type of rehabilitation that they get and stuff like that. You know, that's political. And then you got schools and education and quality of education, or whether you can have private schools or homeschooling. That's political. Then you get other things like another concern is jobs and the economy. That's political. You know, the top 3 issues for pretty much everybody throughout the country are extremely and immediately political, right? Like crime, jobs, education. Like you can't even say those words without them being about politics. You know, like this is something that is a very, very concerning concept that I don't think that a lot of people are understanding. Now, talking about this is important because our local economies, our local manufacturing, our local businesses, whether you got software engineers like Silicon Valley or whether you're like a town that has one trade crop and that's what you do, you produce corn or whatever the case is, like politics impacts you. And that's why we have to get involved. But we want also business-friendly policies. Business-friendly policies is the most important thing to getting jobs in your area. And a lot of places, especially in blue states, they do not have that, especially in blue cities. They do not have that. Every now and then they'll throw billions of dollars at a multinational huge corporation or something like that, which doesn't really help the local economy, because if it doesn't work out, they can just take their ball and go home. And we've seen that a number of times. Where I am in upstate New York, I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with that Tesla plant in in Buffalo. Like, what's up with that? Again, permitting and different issues from the local government cause it to be a pain for them to build. But what's going on with it, right? Then we have things like that are more dire, like the Ecolab batteries. If you live in this area, remind me of what the company was. The battery people that just failed. They got like hundreds of millions of dollars was invested by the state into this construction project for some battery company just to kill over and fail. Like light batteries, Li batteries, something like that. Li-Cycle, that's what it was. Li-Cycle, like they just got all of this government money and then it poof, evaporated into thin air. Now I guess they're trying to sell off their assets or something, because now they're completely bankrupt. But they incentivize them with tax incentives and stuff like that. We don't need those type of things to attract businesses. We need a tooled workforce, and we need a area that has regulations that aren't so onerous that it's difficult to run your own business there. These are real serious conversations that we have to have. And I want to talk about this more, because all of this goes back to exactly what the current administration is doing right now, where they're trying to peel back a lot of these different, a lot of the different regulations and overreach from the departments and stuff like that, which is great on the federal level. But if you live in a state like New York State, you don't have that. If you live in a state like California, you don't have that. The government regulations are so onerous, you can't even do anything. You can barely breathe. Or if you live in Hawaii, now you can't breathe because they're charging you a carbon tax. And that's a whole conversation that I want to dive right into real quick as we go along this path. But real quick, make sure you hit like and share if you're watching online. Hit retweet if you're watching us on X. It don't cost you nothing to hit the retweet button. Hit that, okay? And drop a comment and be part of the conversation. So over the weekend, this is crazy. Over the weekend, Hawaii passed a new law that's going to charge people that fly to Hawaii extra money, because according to them, they add carbon to the world, or whatever the case is, some nonsense. But it's funny because they call it the green thing, and they call it the green bill, and the guy that is the governor down there, his name is Green. And the whole concept is trash, and it's coming to a state near you soon. Okay, what it is it's a carbon tax, and I've been warning about this for years. You guys, if you followed me, you've heard me talk about it before. But a carbon tax is a tax that is explicitly repressive and subjugatorial, and I don't even know if that's a word, but it is today, subjugatorial of the general American populace. That's what they want. They want you to be completely under their control, and they're using this carbon tax in Hawaii, which they're going to expand to more places if we don't fight it, okay, to basically steal and siphon away your money. Because who does that benefit? Only the wealthy, only the big giant multinational companies, only the people with far more money than you got. They're going to start charging you a carbon score based on what clothes you buy. It's already online. If you try to catch a flight, it tells you how much carbon it puts in the atmosphere, which is bogus, because carbon makes up a microscopic amount of our atmosphere, and carbon is good for the atmosphere. They're like, oh no, carbon dioxide isn't good for the atmosphere. Are you dumb? Like how is carbon dioxide bad for our atmosphere? All of the green things that do photosynthesis, all of the trees, all of the grass, all of the crops, they need carbon dioxide. What are you talking about? Putting carbon dioxide in the air is bad. That's a lie. That's the biggest scam that they've ever run on anybody. Even I don't care whether you believe in climate change or don't believe in climate change. Talking about saying that carbon dioxide is a problem is a scam. Okay, you can believe as hard as you want in whatever it is when it comes to the ecosystem, when it comes to green nonsense or whatever the case is. But carbon dioxide, I'm telling you directly to your face, is a lie about carbon dioxide. It makes up barely none of our atmosphere. And the more carbon dioxide that's in the air, the better for the trees and the plants. When there was more carbon dioxide in the air, there were more trees and bigger plants. Let me tell you how significant carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere. It's so significant that in greenhouses, they've got big tankers that pump in carbon dioxide so the plant yields can be higher. Come on now, who's lying? Like this is the lie and the sham and the scam that they sell you, okay? They misappropriate facts and information to try to cultivate this concept in your head that is not true. And I'm not here to talk about the green stuff and all of that other stuff. See, I'm an environmental conservationist. So a lot of that green agenda nonsense is just that nonsense because they don't actually care about the impact of what they're pushing on the actual environment. Like they're out here shutting down nuclear power plants because of the green agenda, but they're putting on solar panels and wind farms on cropland that is now leaching into the soil, destroying the cropland, and now you can't ever grow there again because now anything that you grow there will be contaminated with worse than forever chemicals. You know, like if it was PFASs, that would be bad, but it's even stuff way worse than that, cadmium and all types of crazy nonsense, like really poisonous stuff. So we need to have a serious conversation about why they're pushing this agenda that they are. And back to Hawaii pushing this crazy carbon tax that they're pushing, it's coming. It's coming. They want it. They have it so that they can basically, you might have heard it in the business industry where they say, oh, well, you can buy carbon credits and stuff like that. Well, but this is what they're pushing for the future. And if you can't afford them, they're going to charge you a fine for it. And if you can't afford the fine, then what you're going to do? They're going to put you in jail. So this is a problem, and it's coming high and fast, people. I'm trying to warn you now. And what it is it's being put in place to make the wealth gap even larger, to specifically segment the two very distinct portions of our population, the haves and the have-nots. And this is the conversation that we really, truly, desperately need to have now more than ever, because they're telling you it's about saving the world and climate change and stuff. It's got nothing to do with that. It's about subjugation and complete control over the population. Now they're doing it in New York State. They just passed the bill. I don't know if the bill's passed yet. It's coming up soon if it's not passed already. But they're trying to make them limit how much cows that they can grow in New York State. Yes, I said grow the cow, okay? Grow, whatever. It's grow because they're feeding them and they're growing them for meat, you know, or dairy. But they're trying to make it so that in New York State, they can control how many cows you have because they want less cows because cow farts are destroying the environment. That's the most insane thing I've ever heard in life. Let me put it to you this way. In the United States of America, we used to have this animal that is very delicious. It's called a bison, okay? And it's very delicious, so the settlers basically ate it into extinction. But it's not extinct, and it's coming back, thank God. Because that's a whole nother conversation, why the buffalo is important for the environment and the fields and the stuff like that. Anyway, that's another show. I'm very big into environmental conservation and rehabilitation and stuff like that when it comes to restoring our environment and the traditional native plants and native animals and stuff. Anyway, so we don't have remotely the number of cows that there used to be bison. Now, bison ain't nothing but a hairy cow. And they taste delicious, let me tell you. But the fact of the matter is there were hundreds of thousands, if not millions, more bison than we have cows right now in New York State. I'm not talking about in the country. I'm talking about in New York State. So they're talking about, oh, well, the cow farts are destroying the ozone layer or whatever it is this week. You know, they say that they fart methane, so methane's contributing to that. No, it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And this is the lie that they're pushing so that they can make sure, again, it's your clothing, it's your travel, it's the food that you can eat. That's what they're trying to restrict. All of these different things. Eventually, it'll be electricity after that. Okay, that's why they're trying to force everybody to be so dependent on electricity. And these are the important conversations that we need to have. So please hit the like button, hit the share button if you're online. And if you're on the radio listening to us tuned in, make sure that you tell your friends, your family, and your enemies. Tune into the Divide Mondays on WRFZ 106.3 with Marcus C. Williams from 2:30 to 4 p.m. Let's jump back in it. Okay, hit the heart button, hit the share. If you're watching us on Twitter, hit the retweet button. Don't cost you nothing. All right. Now, there are a couple other things that we need to get into, and I'm going to try to run through a lot of it very quickly. It's just so much going on that I want to have a conversation with you guys about, but we don't have enough time. So please, if you can, donate to the show. We're working to raise $50 to $100 per episode. Because airtime isn't free, but we want to make sure that we can have more of these conversations with you. We love being on the air, and we even like to, if we could start raising enough money to get another show. And if you want to advertise or whatever, let us know. We can give you a plug. You can donate on Cash App. That's $MW Real, the number one. That's $MW Real, the digit one. Or you can donate on Venmo or PayPal, and that's at Marcus C. Williams. So donate today. Donate, go take 2 seconds and go donate right now. Don't take but a heartbeat to do it. All right, so let's get back into it. Now, with that, going through all of that, I got a lot more to talk about on that, but I'm going to talk about some other stuff on the show because it's so much has happened so quickly. Let's jump into it. Now, I don't know if you guys saw, but we did talk about it on the show the other week where there was this couple, I guess they were a couple, two people. They allegedly were a couple, and they were shot in Washington, D.C., which is one of the hardest places to get a gun and the hardest places to carry a firearm. Makes you wonder how that's even possible. But they got shot by somebody that apparently was a pro-Palestine person. And I say all of this stuff allegedly because the whole thing is very suspicious and it smells bad. You know, the whole thing smells bad. Something doesn't sound right. It's very iffy. And we know the government lies to us all the time and will even harm its own people to try to draw us into a war. That's what happened with Pearl Harbor. Go look into that. Okay, or go look into what they were going to do with where they were going to drop bombs on cities in Florida to try to make it look like the Cubans did it to try to go invade Cuba. But JFK stopped that. No wonder he's no longer alive, amongst other reasons. But, you know, so it's important that we know, and that's our country, right? Now we're talking about Israel. So Israel hates all the other countries around it. And whether it's a justified hatred or not, that's your interpretation. But the fact is that they do. And they want to get rid of all of them. And that's a fact. That's not up for debate. There's no conjecture on there. They want them all gone. They want to create greater Israel, incorporating a lot of what used to be Egypt and Syria and Lebanon and Jordan. And I'm sure I missed one. I feel like I just missed one, but whatever. All the way, a lot of the area over there. Gaza used to be part of Egypt, y'all. I don't know if y'all remember that. That's a whole separate conversation. Anyway, but yeah, so these are the important conversations we need to have. So those two people were murdered. And if they really were murdered, that's a horrible shame. Okay, that's a horrible shame. If it was a madman that just was pro-Palestine, allegedly, it's insane, right? Now, was the whole thing cooked up? I don't know. Was it provocated? I don't know. And I can't say that I do, but I would say that the timing is very convenient as the U.S. is trying to broker peace over there. And Netanyahu, not all of the nation of Israel, but Netanyahu, their prime minister, okay, who seems to be dead set on being the last prime minister they ever have. Look that up. Okay, go look into that. There's a lot of stuff there. Go down that rabbit hole. But he's dead set on getting rid of everybody in Gaza and the Golan Heights and whatever. Now, whether you think, again, I'm not expressing whether I think it's right or wrong. It's just these are actual facts. Okay, my whole thought is return the whole Middle East and Northern Africa to Christianity. So you don't want me involved in this conversation like that. Please don't try to drag me into it. I'm just stating the facts of what's going on over there. So anyway, He wants to take over all of Gaza. So what's been happening is the U.S. has been providing them with aid and stuff like that over in Gaza. And there have been many videos coming out of people in Gaza praising the United States for delivering them aid and saying that the other people aren't trying to get them any aid or anything like that. And Trump has been very square on this whole situation in Gaza, that it needs to stop, the killing needs to stop, the death needs to stop, and the destruction needs to stop. And Trump has been doing what he can to get food and supplies to Gaza, and he wants to rebuild Gaza. So that's good. So all of these crazy people out here that call themselves pro-Palestine or whatever nonsense it is this day, you know, they're all fake. They're really anti-American terrorist jihadists, because this isn't really about Israel. It's about being anti-American. And we'll get into that as I drill down into this conversation, because this is very important. Now they get out there and they talk about, oh, well, we're pro-Palestine, but you're not. You're anti-Israel, which is your prerogative. Okay, I don't agree with that, but that's your prerogative. You're anti-America, which, if you ask me, you should be executed like the actual treasonous individuals you are. Okay, and you're anti-Christian. So I could care less about everything else that you're talking about, because I used to care about what was going on in Palestine long before any of these people even knew that anything was going on in Palestine. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy and reprehensible, because they put this mask on of, oh, we're pro-Palestine, when they're not. They're anti-American. Most of them are anarchists, and they only want to cause havoc and destruction. And they're using these people as a tool to actually use them as a pawn, like a Trojan horse, the same way that they used black people during the BLM riots, right? Like the crazy white people from the middle of the suburbs that just wanted to act out all the way out in Victor came into our city and tore up our city, talking about Black Lives Matter, using us as a figurehead, as a Trojan horse to try to get in and cause massive chaos. It was never about Black Lives Mattering. Don't get me started, but this is the same thing with these anti-American terrorist jihadists. Now, if people say they're pro-Palestine, whatever, they're not. They're not. They're liars, okay? Because if that was the actual case, if that was all that you were really about, you wouldn't be carrying on the way that you're carrying on. And that's a whole separate conversation that's very much so important, but I got other stuff I want to talk about too. So now that happened, that incident in DC happened like about a week or two ago now. Then just last night, or yesterday, I guess you should say, in Boulder, Colorado, apparently there was this weekly, and I'm not able to verify this, right? Like, this is just the information from the sources in the world and the news, right? So there was this weekly protest, apparently, to encourage them bringing home the hostages from Gaza, that I don't even know what you want to call them, different terror cells or whatever that kidnapped them are, right? Because people say, oh, well, it's Hamas. It's not Hamas. It's a whole bunch of different groups, right? Hamas that had any, they pretty much returned all of them. Like, it's so many different factions of war militias over there in the Gaza area and stuff like that. Like, to say that, oh, it's Hamas is a misnomer. And that's been one of the biggest lies that has been about this whole thing, that Hamas has all of the kidnapped people. They didn't. That's why they couldn't return them all. So that's an important conversation to have, but people don't want to have that conversation. And you can go look that up. That's whole facts. But anyway, these people were out there protesting, or I don't know if you call it a protest, encouraging, whatever. It's a quasi-protest, but they were chilling, being peaceful, talking about bring back the hostages that have been kidnapped from the area in Israel during October, and during that October attack. But now, here we go. This guy apparently comes to this thing, and he allegedly had a makeshift flamethrower. Now, I don't know how much that's true. I heard it. I saw something that looked like a bug sprayer maybe, but I don't know if it's true that he had a makeshift flamethrower. What I have heard continuously is that he threw Molotov cocktails. He had 3 Molotov cocktails, or maybe 4, and he threw them at these people, and it set 4 men and 4 women on fire They originally reported that it killed 2 children. No children were hurt, and no children were set on fire, apparently. So that first original report was false. But it hurt 4 women and 4 men, and they were between the ages of 52 and 88. So that's a big deal, right? Like, you don't just set people on fire. That's terrible. That's terrible. But look at the timing of this, right? Like, all of this sudden, when Trump is trying to negotiate peace with the area over there, when we've got all of this stuff going on over there, and it looks like there's about to be peace, Netanyahu gets on the TV like 2 days ago and says, yeah, man, we're going to go take over all of Gaza. There's not going to be anybody left in there but us. He said that on the TV. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he said. He said that as we're trying to work on brokering a peace deal, as the U.S. is trying to broker a peace deal. You know, I'm about sick of these people, okay? All of them. Him, Netanyahu, Zelensky, the lot of them. Okay, there's a couple of other ones. We'll get into them later. But this is tragic, right? Like, that's tragic. Like, he's really out there talking about, we're going to eliminate everybody in the area and we're going to push them all out of Gaza. Yeah, Netanyahu, thanks a lot for that, bro. Thanks a lot, as we're out here trying to broker peace and stop the killing and stuff. And you just want to make things worse. Because, again, it's all about conquest. It's about conquest for Netanyahu. It's got nothing to do with anything else. And many other people in Israel, and especially in the Israeli government, want to take over that area and stuff like that. They don't want any peace. You know, it's like that one meme online. Don't want peace, want problems always. And I laugh to keep from crying because it's tragic, right? Like, it's a complete level of conquest that they want over there for the Middle East. And again, I'm not here to say whether it's right or wrong. Okay, that's just, these are facts. That's what they want to do. But I'm saying that what we're trying to do by establishing peace and stuff over there, they're hindering our efforts. It's a problem. And we're going to get into another hindering of our peace efforts in the U.S. overseas in a couple minutes here. But let's talk a little bit more about this, because this attack on these people, allegedly by this guy who was pro-Palestinian. Now, he doesn't necessarily fit the characteristics that you would consider pro-Palestinian. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up coming out. Now, the guy was here on an overstayed visa. Now, if you guys watch my show or listen to me, I am very big on removing everybody here on an overstayed visa. I'm big on deporting all the illegal aliens, but the number one group is the people here on overstayed visas. Okay, why? Because of stuff like this. Because they know that they had the opportunity to be here and get their stuff done right in the US, and they completely ignored the way that they're supposed to do it. So this is a problem, and this is why we need to do something about it. And those need to be the first people gone. I'm glad they're getting rid of all of the criminal element that are tied up with that, but they need to go after these people here on overstayed visas. You know, that should be a number. If getting rid of the criminal illegals is number one, getting rid of the overstayed visas is number two. Okay, but this guy was here on an overstayed visa. His name is Mohammed something Suleiman. Okay, Solomon, something like that. Anyway, so this guy throws Molotov cocktails on these people, sets them on fire. And the question is, now he's white presenting, right? Like, most people would think, well, he's got some sort of European type of accent or whatever. I'm not quite sure where he's from. I haven't been able to get that information, but he's white presenting, and it's very interesting timing. Now, I have to explain something to you, and then we're going to move on to another topic. These people that claim to be pro-Palestine, right? These people that are doing these attacks in the US, is it helping the Palestinians? No. So why are you doing it, right? Because they want to cause confusion, terror, and pain. That's why. Because it's completely about anarchy. It's not about supporting these other countries. That's just their chosen Trojan horse at this point. And it's a serious issue. And I'm sick of it. These criminal terrorists and these anti-American terrorist jihadists are now starting to collaborate. The criminal terrorists are these criminals that we have in the US that continue to commit these crimes over and over again, but because of certain states and certain laws, they continue to get out of jail. So now they're starting to work together and stuff like that, and it's a serious problem. So disgusting, makes you want to spit. Now, one of the important things in this conversation is we got to stop these people that are calling themselves pro-Palestine, whatever it is, because they're not. They're anti-American terrorist jihadists that are seeking to overthrow our government in favor of a foreign entity under a foreign flag. Okay, they say that there's no solution but an intifada revolution, or down with the American government, or death to America. These are things that they proudly proclaim out in the streets. And we're supposed to let this go? We're supposed to just let them do that? Are you serious? You're calling yourself a wartime combatant. You're declaring war against our nation. You need to be locked up. Okay, if it was up to me, you'd be executed. Okay, because you're declaring yourself a war combatant against the United States. Fine, that's fair. Okay, we'll treat you like a wartime combatant. You want to overthrow our government for a foreign flag or a foreign venture? Execute them. Drink water, stay hydrated. Okay, but this type of stuff is very important, and it's growing because people that want to act up are joining these different groups and stuff, because it's not about helping the Palestinians. It's about creating anarchy and acting up, and they just want a reason to act up and not be held accountable for their actions. Now, it's crazy what's going on. Now let's jump back over to China real quick. China has developed, before we get to China, please make sure you hit like and share if you're watching on YouTube. Hit the heart button, hit the thumbs up button, drop a comment. If you're watching on X, hit a comment, drop a comment, hit the thumbs up, hit the retweet button. Okay, you're watching on Facebook, hit the share button, hit the share to a group, share to your page, share to your friend's page. Okay, and get this out there and let's have a real conversation. And if you want to be part of the conversation, drop a comment in the comments and I'll do my best to pop it up. All right, let's go on to it. So China has made an interesting development. They have developed a camera that can see over a mile away, small font in a book, and it can read the whole page. That's crazy. From 14 football fields away, it can read the text that's millimeter text in a book. That's insane. Okay, talk about spying and no privacy. Wow. That's incomprehensible almost. Now, back to the China talk about what they got going on over there. We just had NVIDIA, which is an American company, put a whole bunch of money talking about they about to build a plant in China mainland. Now, how the heck are they going to do that? Let's have a conversation about that. Now, not only is that not good for us as far as safety and security, but we also have prohibitions and restrictions on China getting those type of serious high-powered semiconductors that are really powerful, because it's a national security issue for us. So NVIDIA, that guy over there that always wears the leather jacket and the jeans, I forget his name, but the CEO dude, okay, he's trying to build a plant over there. And now the U.S. government is not happy with him. I'm not happy with him. I understand money, but them people is evil, bro. Them people is super evil. And they want to get rid of our country and our people. So no, hard stop, you know? Now, I don't know if maybe they're blackmailing him, or they got his cousin's family, or they found him in the yard with a dog, or whatever the case is, or it's just all about money. But they're working on planning to build one there. We'll see what happens. Which means that China would get all their intellectual property, which means that China would kick them out in a couple of years. So it doesn't matter. Plus, they're going to be going into Taiwan soon, which is a whole nother problem, which apparently we keep giving Taiwan a whole bunch of different weapons. And I didn't know this, but I just found this out. We got a whole bunch of Marines over in Taiwan right now. I got thoughts and feelings about that. Mostly like, it's not our war. We should have given the Chinese nationalists the arms that we told them we would in the first place to fight against the communists, but we never did that. Now, that's some good history to go look into. Now, talking about other countries that are hindering the peace process and that the U.S. is trying to establish, the U.S. is trying to work out a peace deal with Russia and Ukraine right now. Now, here's the thing, Russia and Ukraine, everybody's very drawn on the Russia-Ukraine issue because as an American, and I'm saying this very plainly, we've been taught to hate Russia because Russia's hated us, right? But it wasn't Russia that we were taught to hate. We were taught to hate the USSR, the United Soviet States of Russia. But the USSR fell, I believe, 94, back before most of the people were alive now, you know? So most people don't remember. And so since that time, all of the bad guys in a lot of the movies and stuff were always still the Soviets and the Russians. You got the two pairs of bad guys. It's always the Soviets or it's the Germans and the Nazis because they're good bad guys. And those have traditionally been our bad guys. So that's been a serious thing that carried over even when Russia became a democracy, or I'm not sure what exactly their form of government is. I guess technically it's some sort of a parliamentary type of republic or something, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But regardless, ever since Russia became a democracy, we've still had a bad taste in our mouth with them. We've still had, because we had all that. I mean, it just happened, right? Like not too long ago. Like Soviet Union just fell. We were just against the Reds. The Cold War just got over. What, 30 years ago? Not even, you know, what year is it now? 35 years ago? Yeah, you know, not even 35, maybe 30, you know, 94. So, I mean, this is serious stuff and serious conversations that we need to have. But nobody wants to have that conversation. Why do we have so much animosity towards Russia to begin with? A lot of it is carryover. Now, there are other legitimate issues that we could have with Russia currently, because we go into different countries and we have little mini skirmishes and stuff over different resources and land and control of different stuff and influence and all types of stuff that's happening in Africa right now. That's a separate conversation for another day. But there are other issues that we can have with Russia. But Russia tried to, when they first turned into a republic, they tried to get involved with the West more. They wanted to come into the fold because they saw that China was rising as an enemy and they wanted to be more close to the West, right? Because they're largely white and largely Christian. Why wouldn't they want that, right? And we're talking about before Europe was flooded with Muslims, okay? So this is, it's like, why wouldn't they want that, right? But now, what happened is, and this was, remember, this is right in the lifetime, right? Like, so under Obama, Russia wanted to join NATO, and Obama laughed because he thought it was funny, but they were like, yo, China is a problem and we need to unite against China, which Russia was right on that level, but nobody wanted to listen to that. That was too much like right. So Obama laughed at them and kind of pushed them away because, you know, he's part of the globalist order anyway. And Russia's not, which is a whole nother thing. Small countries like, what do you call them? Poland, and Poland's an interesting dichotomy and dynamic that they got going on over there. That's really worth like 3-4 episodes of what's going on in Poland. They really got some good stuff going on, but they also got, they work in all sides of everything, you know. Good for them. Good for them. But anyway, places like, what do you call it? Oh my goodness, what's that guy's name? I don't remember. The other country that's right there by Belarus. There we go. I was going to say Belgium, but Belarus and other countries like that, Hungary, okay, they're trying to stand free from the globalist agenda. Poland too, you know, and the globalists just shut down. That was a big fly. The globalists just shut down a couple of elections that were going on in various countries and even tried to kill a couple of the people that were the presidents of the countries in Eastern European nations because they didn't want them, because they were trying to restore their countries and fix their countries and didn't want to be part of the globalist order. And this is serious. This is real life stuff. And I've talked about it on this show before, but we need to have these conversations. Anyway, to the point about countries interfering with us making peace deals. Right now, you guys know that Ukraine and Russia are going back and forth. I've done a number of episodes on it, so I'm not going to rehash it. But they're supposed to have a peace treaty, peace deal or peace negotiation or whatever.
And that's supposed to be coming up, right? Like today. It already happened. It already started in Turkey. But last night, right? That's today. Like we all knew it was today. But last night, Ukraine launched a major attack on Russia. Okay, I believe it attacked about 5 different bases inside Russia in all different areas, taking out a large number of airplanes and stuff like that. We're not sure exactly the extent, but according to Ukraine, they've taken out 1/3 of Russia's strategic bombers and caused them about $76 billion in damages. That's a lot of money. But more than that, that's a lot of bombers. Now, here's the important fun fact on this. Not only did that happen the night before this happened, the night before the peace negotiations is supposed to begin, also, the reason why they were able to attack these planes that were out in the open is because they were out in the open, because many of them were strategic bombers and stuff, which as part of the START Treaty, go look it up, part of the START Treaty, Russia and the US has to have them out in the open so that they can be seen and stuff like that. Well, since they're using that to their advantage, so that means that Russia's just going to go hide their stuff now, right? That we won't know. And they're just going to hide everything, which is going to make it more difficult. I mean, you know, just making stuff more difficult for us all the time. And I'm concerned because I watched some of the places that they attacked and stuff like that. And some were like over by China, right? Now, China's not close. It's thousands of kilometers away. Like 7,000? I don't know how many kilometers. I'm not a good kilometer person. I'm a miles person. But it's mad far, right? Like, so they're over there attacking bases of Russia that are by Mongolia. Now, why are you hitting targets all the way over there? And these are strategic bombers. Now, Russia's not deploying strategic bombers against Ukraine. So how is that helping what they're trying to do at all? Right? Like, this isn't going to stop what they're doing. This only benefits China. And we're not going to get into the long relationship with China and Ukraine because nobody actually wants to have that conversation. But if you want to have that conversation, drop a comment and we'll have that conversation. But this is serious and people don't talk enough about this stuff. Drop a heart, hit a like, hit a thumbs up, or if you're watching in the comments, even drop a heart in the comments, you know, or American flag, salute. All right. But this is problematic because who does that benefit? It doesn't benefit Ukraine. Maybe it benefits Europe, which I've been saying for months and months and months. It looks like Europe's trying to go into Russia, which Lord have mercy. Honestly, let me tell you something about Russia, okay? If Russia was half of the hard noses that we feel that they are, we'd be in serious trouble. If Putin was as crazy as they say that he is, that they try to tell us that he is, we'd be in serious trouble. We're not, he's not, and that's the whole lie that they're selling you on that. But the concerning part is, after that attack last night, if I was Putin, if I was Russia, I'd have told them kick rocks and I would have dumped everything I had on them in the next 5 seconds from now. Okay? Let's be honest, 100%. There wouldn't have been, I wouldn't have left a piece of grass standing on anything that looked like a military base for Ukraine. Where I thought that a soldier was stationed. Okay? Because that's a slap in the face. You're doing that the day before we have peace negotiations? Are you serious? So it's a good thing that I'm not in charge of Russia. And it's a good thing that Putin is. But I say that because that's me, because I know how I'd react if it was America and somebody pulled some shenanigans like that. Now, the Russians are supposed to be more serious, more stern, more hard-nosed than we are and stuff like that. So I can tell you right now, I assure you that there are people in Russia just chomping at the bit, okay, to release serious weapons on Ukraine and the majority of Europe. And the only thing stopping them right now is Putin. That's it. That's it. And I know that nobody wants to have that conversation because they've concocted these faulty narratives so much about him and stuff like that and tried to paint him one way that he's not, which again, this doesn't take away from he's a bad man or he's done a whole bunch of horrible stuff. It doesn't take away from any of that. It's just saying that he's not a madman and he's not crazy. Like they try to say that he is. You know, like they try to convince us that Russia's so strong, Russia's super strong, Russia's super strong. And then they're like, no, Russia's not strong, Russia's weak. Which one is it? You got double talk, double think, double speak, all outside the side of your neck, telling us all types of crazy stuff that doesn't line up at the same daggone time. Crazy. They try to manipulate our thought process on the matter. But back to the point, it's a good thing that he's in charge right now. Because if it was anybody else, I guarantee you, if it was anybody else in the rest of the military command, there wouldn't be not a blade of grass left. Not a blade of grass left. Because at what point, you know, you consider your citizens up to the point where they're going to destroy all of your citizens in your country. And they're about to destroy Russia's citizens and their country. There's no more game left for Russia, except an all-out attack. So if Russia feels like that they could do something or could pull back from the brink, good for them. But I promise you the only reason why that's happening right now is because Putin's in there. And again, I don't like that dude. But I can see what he's doing and I can respect it, that he's not a crazy madman. Because if he was after last night, not a blade of grass, there wouldn't be a shadow of a blade of grass left. So we'll see what happens there. But it's crazy that this happens at the time when we're supposed to be having a peace deal today. And we'll talk about that peace deal in a second. But real quick, you guys, you're tuned into the Divide with Marcus C. Williams on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. We are here Tuesdays, 2:30 to 4 p.m. Make sure that you turn up that dial and have the conversations that are important right along with us. Share this with your friends, your neighbors, your enemies, the guy across the street with the dog that barks too much, okay? And if you're watching online, make sure you hit like, share, heart. And if you guys want to support the show, you can donate on Cash App, $MWREAL, the number one. That's $MWREAL, the digit one. We're working on raising $50 to $100 an episode so that we can get some more airtime. Airtime's not free, but we want to have a conversation with you and me that are important to have. You can also donate on Venmo or PayPal, and that's at Marcus C. Williams. So let's jump back into it. Now, as we have this conversation here, we need to also go back and we need to talk about China one more time real quick. So June 4th is the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre in 1989, okay, when they just rolled up a whole bunch of tanks and was rolling over people in Tiananmen Square, the Beijing massacre, you know, they call it also. And it was raw, rugged, and you can't even talk about it in China. If you try to search it, you can't even find that much information. You might have to look real, real hard because they want to try to erase it from history. But I bring that up because the U.S. erases a lot of stuff from the internet, especially stuff that they don't think is favorable and stuff like that. But I do bring that up because that's important to remember. Okay, somebody needs to identify that the Tiananmen Square massacre did happen because people were trying to stand up to the communists and say that we don't want what's going on to be going on the way it's going on. And they were completely unarmed, and they were rolling them over with tanks. Horrible. Horrible. Shooting them is terrible. It's terrible. But yeah, so China's a mess, and they're really, really a problem, and we need to address them. But let's bring a close to the international stuff, and I'm going to bring some stuff more home stateside and more home local. Right now, and I don't know where you are or what you got going on. We have local elections this year. We've got city council and the mayor in our elections here. And we got a ton of different candidates that are running for city council and a couple people running for mayor. And because our city is deep blue, we've got a whole bunch of leftist candidates. So we've got leftist candidates, and then we've got establishment Democrat candidates that are running. It's tragic. It's tragic. Then you got the people that are far left, but are also mostly clearly in it for themselves, which is a whole nother subsection of people. And it's a serious issue. What we need to do as a nation, as a people, especially here in Rochester, is start holding these people accountable that are in office. For far too often, we get this concept in our head that, oh, well, there are term limits. Term limits are called the election. No, that's not how that works. Okay, or there is a referendum on these people. That's called the election. No, that's not how it works, because so many people here in Rochester right now have gotten so fed up, they don't even go and vote. We had like, what, 20-something percent? It was like less than 27% of the people that were registered to vote came out and voted last year. You know what I'm saying? And last year was a presidential election, y'all. Come on now. If more people turn out for the presidential election, how many people you think going to turn out this year? So that's a very, very serious issue. And we got to get more people active. We got to get more people out there that are going to stand up for the community. And that's why I'm running here locally for city council, because I believe in putting the community first and focusing on the community issues, when very clearly our current elected officials don't do that, and there's no accountability for them doing that. You know, we had a mayoral debate last week, which was a great debate but it was only for the Democrat primary. There's also a conservative guy who's a Republican that's running on the conservative line, but it was only the Democrats, and it was atrocious. It was terrible. We had one guy that's not even been in Rochester that long. He's been here like, I don't know, 13 years. He's been in the US for like 21 years, maybe, I think he said. But he hasn't been here. I ain't never seen the man nowhere. Okay, at nothing. Nothing political, not at a city council meeting, not at a city event, not at a county ledge event, nothing. And all of a sudden he's running for mayor. So the question is who is he really funding him? Who's really backing him? Who's really pushing him to do that? So I got lots of questions there, but also he supports illegal aliens. I don't support illegal aliens. We about to have a serious problem. We're not about to play that game, especially here in our city where we have like a 33% poverty rate. And you talking about you want to take care of illegal aliens and stuff like that. You tripping outside your mind. Then we got some lady, okay. And it seems like somehow it's always the redheads. I don't know. I don't get it. Like what's going on with the gingers? Okay, have they all been co-opted by the far left? Now she's not far left. She's like medium left and very close to it. That's why I think she needs to get new friends, because they're giving her bad advice. But dude, she got all types of crazy. She's on city council too right now, and I can't mess with a lot of the policies that she has. But some of the stuff that she has and says, I agree with. But a lot of it is very, very left, and that's a serious problem. Okay. Kevin, I see that you sent a message about some other stuff. Maybe if I have a chance, I'll bring it up on the screen. When you're watching the show and you make a message, please make it directly towards what we're talking about, and I'll be able to bring it up faster. So, but yeah, so this redhead lady, like, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy the stuff that she's proposing, except the one thing that she did propose that I agree with her, and I've talked to her on this issue, is that tenants get the right of first refusal if the property goes up for sale. So we've had that conversation before, that I support that, she supports that. We'd support that together because it's a good initiative. That's a good thing. You know, you work with other people, even if you don't agree with them on a lot of stuff, where you can. And that's one issue that I could work with her on. But I mean, but the rest of the stuff that she was on about, no. We can't be doing that. It's because she's got the right concerns with the wrong focuses. Let me say it like that very bluntly. And because of the people that she surrounds herself with, no. Like, no. Like, no. Like, no. Then we got the mayor, our current mayor, who's running for re-election, and he got up there and he was himself. He performed exactly like I'd expect him to. And that was dreadfully disappointing. Because you're like, how can you be disappointed, Marcus, if that's what you expected from him? You got to watch it. You know, go pull up the debate, the Rochester, New York debate for the mayor. It was, Jesus. And, you know, in our town, like, the people that are in office, like they run and they control everything. Now, I've offered many times to the current mayor because I want the mayor to be successful so that our city can be successful. But I've offered many times, let me help you or whatever the case is. I can do a number of different things. I just want to see our city succeed. But he says, oh, okay, well, yeah, whatever, no, 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 boom, 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 you know, and nothing ever materializes. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever, But I try to put I try to reach out, and try to get something done. But some people you just don't want that. And whether that's because he's from a different party, whether that's because he's got a personal grievance with me or something like that, which I don't know why he would. I've never really said anything about it except, that he used to be the commissioner of the schools on the school board, and maybe we need to talk about that. Which I've never heard him talk about his experience on the schools and how that would affect how we should work on education, which I don't know why he doesn't do that. So if one of his people are watching my show or listening to this, maybe you need to have that conversation with him. Okay? Because that would be an important conversation, especially this year. Maybe you guys just feel so much that you're going to win automatically. I don't know. But that could help move our city forward and help the youth a lot. So I'd be interested in them launching that conversation with him, But he performed like and I hate to say this is an honest, critical assessment. Okay, so if you're watching, dude, it's not. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be personal or anything. I'm telling you what it looked like from somebody outside looking in. It looked bad, dude. It looked bad. You looked like you were very much so. This is how things are. This is the way I want it. Nothing else matters. Nobody else can say anything about anything. That's it. And that's me putting it mildly. But that's how it looked. It was bad, bro. You didn't win any points that night. You lost points. I think that the foreign guy goes up to 17% of the votes. The redhead lady, she got some more votes that night. But I don't think that you got any votes. I think you lost votes there. It wasn't that good on your side, but it was because of the way that you were carrying yourself on there. And I'm not speaking for myself. I'm telling you what I've been hearing from a lot of different people who watched the whole thing. It wasn't good, but you still got time to turn it around, or maybe you win anyway. I don't know. You got $1 bazillion to spend on the whole thing, so maybe you win anyway. Who knows? But I just would like you to return to focus on our actual community and our city members and put our priorities first, because it seems like everybody that was on that stage has all of these noble concepts and stuff like that, but nothing actually practical for the everyday citizen. Okay, to address our issues. And nobody at all on that stage wanted to address the crime. All we as the citizens want are the criminals in jail and the victims to get righteous retribution and restitution. It's not that difficult. And I have a whole plan for that, by the way, to all of y'all out there listening. So if you follow my page on X or Facebook or wherever you follow me online or YouTube, you'll see that coming out soon. I talk about this stuff frequently, but only a little bit, because I don't want to put it all out there, because we do have a primary on the Democrat side coming up for the city council. I don't want to give out all my ideas and stuff like that. But then when we get into the general election after the 24th, I'll start talking more about that. I'll start putting up more stuff soon, real soon. You'll see. I got a lot of stuff out there already. You guys know I talk about everything on the show all the time. But in order to find it, you got to watch the show all the time, because I talk about different things at different times. But, it's important that our elected officials return to focus on the people that they're supposed to serve. Elected officials are supposed to serve you guys. They're supposed to be our elected representatives. This is a representative government. They're supposed to represent us, not their special interests, not their self-interest, not somebody from a foreign land, not somebody from in another town, not somebody from downstate. They're supposed to represent our area where we live in our area. And honestly, sadly, that's not what's happening. not on city council, not in the mayor's office, not in the county ledge, not in the state assembly, not in the state senate. Even then, we talked about this before. Our state senator is always talking about Buffalo or New York City or something like that. Dude, how are you talking about these things, bro? Like, you're supposed to represent my area in Rochester. I can give a flying monkey's uncle about Buffalo. No offense to Buffalo. You don't represent them. I don't care about New York City. I love New York City. That's my heart. But again, you don't represent them. You represent us here in this area. People seem to forget that. And then we get people in the city that are like, oh, well, I don't want to get involved and talk about politics or whatever. And they want to say, oh, well, nothing is ever going to change. Let me tell you this. Last year, there was a vote for a couple of different offices that less than 1,000 votes would have been the difference to get good people into those offices. There was one town not too far from us. I think the difference was like 10 votes or something that they lost by. And then they could have had a really good person in the town as the mayor. Okay. But that didn't happen because people were just so fed up. They're like, oh, I don't want to vote. My vote doesn't change anything. My vote doesn't count. Your vote counts, people. Your vote counts. Don't listen to anybody that says that your vote counts, don't listen to anybody that says that your vote doesn't count. Your vote definitely counts. It's very, very important. And in order to get good people in the elections, you got to start taking part in the election system. You got to get out and vote. That's number one. Got to make sure you're registered to vote. That's number two. Okay, well, number one and number two. And you got to make sure that you've got the actual information about what these people's plans are that are supposed to represent you versus just hearing what they're saying. Like, well, what tangible plans do you have to address the issue you're talking about? Like, they're not going to address every issue that you want, but at least the issues that they're talking about, they need to have a tangible plan. Like, where is it? Show it to me. Not like somebody saying, oh, in our city, we're going to build 4,000 houses in the next 4 years. No way. No way. It's not possible. You can't get even if you could, right? Excuse my language. I would love them to be able to get the permitting, but you know how I feel about the permitting here. We need complete deregulation in Rochester, but we've talked about that before. Anyway, to get 4,000 houses built in 4 years, that's not happening. Just the infrastructure alone, the energy infrastructure, the gas infrastructure, which you can't even really do gas infrastructure. That's a whole nother conversation. But the electric infrastructure, the water infrastructure, and all of that, 4,000 in 4 years? No, not homes, maybe apartment buildings. You might get close to 2,000, 1,000, probably more like 1,000. You can't because of just the time of the building, the time it takes to build it is too long. Like, you can't do that. Like, but there's the time issue, but there's also the skill issue. Like, where are all the workers going to come from? That's a massive worker boom, right? And then that creates this whole own other problem. Besides the fact that we just don't have that number of workers, then you'd have to ship in workers to do that, and you'd have to finance that. How are you going to finance that? Like, these are the conversations that I need to be had out in public. Like, how are you going to do that, bro? It's not feasible. It's just not. And do we even have enough power to add another 4,000 houses in our city in the next 4 years? Do we have the electric grid infrastructure for that? Which is a whole nother conversation, because now there's too much draw on the electric grid. There's not enough for these so-called electric buses that they got going on and all types of other madness. So when I talk about these issues, they're very important. And then we go back to the city council part. Let me tell you this. In the last couple of days, we've had multiple people shot at their houses. Okay, we've had people shooting into houses. We've had like 6 or 7, since last Monday, we've had like 7 people stabbed. That made the news. We had a business the night before last, Saturday night. Today's Monday? Today's Monday, yeah. So it would have been Saturday night, a business in our beach district get broken into and trashed and vandalized. And the police did a good job at catching the culprit and the individuals, but it's a constant issue down there. And many of the businesses down there have closed. A number of the restaurants and stuff like that, they're barely able to stay open, and a lot of them have closed, and it's sad. It's really, really sad. And neighbors in the area are concerned about the crime and all types of stuff. But what happens? Nothing happens because our city council ignores that it's even a problem. And that's a serious issue. Hit the heart button, hit the share button real quick. Get this message out to more people. We should be having this conversation together. Drop a comment, drop a thumbs up, in the comments, or a heart in the comments, and let us know that you're listening, but it also helps the algorithm get it out to more people. Now, as we have the rest of this conversation, so this is this part of our city that we call Charlotte neighborhood, and it's just completely under siege. And now this is a more affluent area that we have, right? So it's one of those neighborhoods it's so sprawled out. So you've got like a good dichotomy of the really high affluent people and the people that are very much so middle class. Okay. Now, with that being said, though, if you want to go down by the beach, okay, down by the bay, where the watermelons grow. No, I'm joking. But if you want to go down by the beach, there's always a lot of activity there. A lot of times, it's not positive activity; it's criminal activity or disruptive behavior and stuff like that. And a lot of people don't want to go out or go over there, and they don't feel safe, and it's a problem. But it's not being addressed by our city council. In my home neighborhood in the southwest of Rochester, crime is crazy. They don't even acknowledge that we have any crime, So you should be able to feel safe in any neighborhood that you are in our city. It shouldn't just be nicer, more affluent neighborhoods. It shouldn't just be one section of city. And now even the nicer neighborhoods are getting hit with crime, like Cobbs Hill and Cornhill, and Cornhill's even pushed to get their own private security because of it. This is serious, This is really serious, because the government is supposed to protect and provide basic security for its citizens, and it is not doing that, and that is a problem. People are out here calling for vigilante justice and all types of stuff, and I am like, I can't even tell you no, right? With all the crime and violence and the criminals just getting away, shoot, it's crazy. How about we put criminals in jail again? There used to be a saying, don't do the crime if you can't do the time, and now there's no time, so everybody's out here doing crime. And that's a real serious issue, and nobody wants to talk about it. But the more that we enable criminals to do criminal stuff, they're going to criminal, it's funny, but I laugh to keep from crying because it's tragic. It's very sad. We can create a whole program to actually lock these criminals up here locally, because it's very clear that the state don't want to do it. And our city council and our mayor's office won't speak against the crime. The mayor tells us crime is fine. City council ignores crime. They don't even talk about it. That's what blows my mind, right? At least the mayor try to fake us out about it. He'd be like, oh, no, there's no crime. Oh, crime's down, da, 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 da. We know it's not, crime not down, but they use these skewed statistics to try to make it look like it. Even Governor Kathy came down here the other month, and two weeks ago, and said, oh, good, look at the gun murders are down or whatever. Shut up. We got people running around on motorcycles, running people through with machetes like it's Pirates of the Caribbean on rubber. Are we serious? Who gets run through with a machete? First of all, machetes are a chopping thing. Secondly, is this the Caribbean? Is this Pirate Cove? How you getting stabbed with a machete? What is going on here? But that's the level of crime that we have here. And then they want to say, oh, Rochester's the greatest city in the whole wide world. Maybe. But let's talk about the actual crime and villainy that's going on here. Let's address those real serious issues. Can we do that? It's so disgusting. It makes me want to spit. And it's a serious problem. But if we don't address the issues the way that they are, they'll never get addressed. And we have to demand from our elected officials that stuff gets done. So that's why I always encourage you guys. You got to go out to your city council meetings. You got to go out to your town board meetings or wherever you are and get involved. Get involved. And if you're here in Rochester, reach out to me, shoot me a message, shoot me a messenger message, shoot me a comment or a text or whatever, and say that you want to get involved more here locally, and I'll work with you and we can make that happen. Because we as the public have to start standing up. We as the citizens have to start standing up. These elected officials, these elected representatives are supposed to represent and serve us. But they're not trying to serve us. They're trying to serve themselves. I'll give you a great example is there was a bill that went just last week in the state assembly, and it was going to committee for it was to make it so that we could have recall elections in New York State, and the Democrats all shot it down. Now, hold on now. Why don't you want a recall election to be able to be done? Explain to the people that you're supposed to be responsible and responsive to why you don't think that they should have the ability to remove you from office if they don't like the job that you're doing. Like, why can't we have that conversation? Like, just because they're Democrats and because other people are Democrats, like, we're just going to ignore that? Like, that's crazy to me. That's absolutely insane, but it shows you how much people are actually against our citizens and against the people that they're supposed to represent. Drink water, stay hydrated. But it's important, you guys. It's dreadfully important, because the fact of the matter is, if we don't stand up for ourselves as a community, as individuals, nobody's going to stand up for us, because clearly it's not these people that are in these elected offices. You know, they're serving themselves, they're benefactors, the people that put money in their back pocket and their cousins' accounts. You know, that's what's really going on. And we need to have that conversation. But are you ready to have that conversation locally where you live? If you are here, reach out to me. Now, as we proceed into this year, we're in June. It's June 2nd today. And now we're almost to summer, right? Summer's coming up real fast. But crime, as I've mentioned already, is out of hand. So what's going to happen when it starts to really get hot? That's the question that should be on everybody's minds here. It really is. Then we have the other issue also. We've got so many different problems when it comes to crime that just are completely not acknowledged at all, like the massive drug problem that we have. There was a Canadian guy that got apparently carjacked or robbed or mugged or something on J Street last night. Now, the night before last, let me tell you something about J Street. I don't live far from J Street, right? But no, that is not a safe area that I would say is safe, especially for no foreigner to go to. Okay, like, what are you doing over on J Street at nighttime? You either bringing in and trafficking drugs, trafficking guns, or trafficking something illegal, or you're there to buy drugs. It's only one of the two. You're selling something illegal or you're buying drugs. So that he didn't have no business. Didn't have no business. It's not off the expressway. Somebody's like, well, I heard there was a hockey game. That's why he must have been on. How? The expressway don't run over there like that. You got to go out of your way to get on the J Street if you're going downtown for the hockey game. Come on now, stop it. Whose face is getting played in right now? So the whole thing don't smell kosher, okay? And that's a whole serious business. But we need to have these conversations about how are the drugs continuing to get into our community that are fueling a lot of this crime and violence in our city, which we don't even ever talk about the drugs. Can we talk about that? I feel like that's a very, very serious thing that we need to keep an eye on so that we can actually focus on limiting the crime in relation to the drugs. Because drugs and drug money tend to fund and cause crime. So, I mean, like, hello? Like, it's real simple, you know? Make sure that you get on the ball and address these issues. But that's too much like right for city council. We've got a housing crisis, a cost of living crisis. Now, I am the first one to say we have a serious housing crisis and we need to address it. But there are many people out there that'll say, oh, well, we have a housing shortage. How? How do we have a housing shortage? When in my state, we're losing population, a ton of population. How do we have a shorting of a housing shortage? If everybody's fleeing our state, how do we have a housing shortage? That's not possible. That doesn't even make any sense. If in my city, everybody's leaving the city, everybody's not leaving the city, but we're losing population. You get what I'm saying? If everybody's leaving the city, then how do we have a housing shortage? Something else must be going on. I'll tell you exactly what's going on. All of these corporations and private entities and investors are coming in from outside of Rochester and buying everything up. They're buying everything up. That's why we have a shortage of housing, but that would be too much like a real conversation that nobody wants to actually talk about, right? Like that's too much of a real conversation. And we need to be having those real conversations. There is no housing shortage. That is a lie. We have large corporations and private investors buying up single family homes, duplexes and triplexes. Okay? That's why we have a housing shortage. And I use that in air quotes. We've got a very serious aging population. Everybody's getting old and dying. How do we have a housing shortage? Them old people must have been living somewhere, now they're dead. They must have houses available. If everybody's leaving, how can there be, you know what I'm saying? Like this is the stuff that doesn't make sense, but they say it out there and they send it out to the world because it sounds good. And if they say it enough, the lie becomes the truth. Stop listening to these people. They're lying to you. And because they're lying to you, that we can't even get the actual issues addressed that we need to be addressed. That's the same thing I say about them crazy anti-American terrorist jihadists that are the pro-Palestinian people. I say, y'all talk about it's a genocide over there. It ain't a genocide. It's a massive displacement. And because you don't talk about it the way that it actually is, those people aren't getting service the way that they actually need. You understand what I'm saying? It's the same thing that's happening here. If we actually talked about it the way that we need to talk about it, then we wouldn't have such an issue with housing and we could get that issue actually addressed. But I thank you all for tuning in today. Please make sure that you hit the like, share, subscribe button and get this message out there because we need to have more of the conversations that you need to hear right here in your ear on The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. This is WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. You are listening to the #1 conservative talk show in upstate New York. Make sure you share this out with everyone. I appreciate you guys tuning in and make sure that you encourage other people to tune in next week as well. And make sure you're following. Now, before we go, we got one more comment. Kevin says, the drug dealer on my block was so mad at me last night for tipping off the guys that bring in the drugs. Kevin, I thank you for that information. I don't know if that's information that you just want to be putting out there like that, but I praise your boldness. Good on you. Good on you. That's very good and very well done. I'll catch you guys later. You guys have a blessed one. Be blessed and be well. Remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. All right, you guys. So, boom. If you guys live in Rochester or you don't live in Rochester, you got to get active. If you live in Rochester and you want to get active locally to work hard and make a difference, to change what's going on in the direction of what's happening here, reach out to me. If you don't live in Rochester and you see things are going in a negative direction in your area, you got to stand up. You can't just move out somewhere else. The problems are going to follow regardless. We see this happen with California. California is the biggest state losing its population. The second one is New York. And a lot of the people moving are the people with the bad ideas that have pushed the bad policies that are creating problems in our areas that they're leaving from. And then they take their ideas down to Tennessee or down to Texas or wherever they're going, and they corrupt those areas down there. Look at what's happened to Arizona, or what's happened to what do you call it over there? New Mexico. You know, even Texas now, states that were more conservative, more red, more freedom loving are now completely the opposite. They've got large cities that are turning very blue and very Democrat/socialist. Okay, it's a problem. It's a very serious issue. You got to stay and fight with all your might, because if you're not going to do it, who's going to do it? Nobody's going to do it but you. So you must stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. I'm going to catch you guys later, but I want you to know that I love you. You are important and you can make a real difference. Yes, you can make a real difference, but you got to get involved. You gotta get involved. It's now or never. I don't think that we have a ton of time left as far as us being able to make a difference in what's happening. But now is the time. We got maybe a year and a half to really make a difference that we can. So we got to be on it right now. Get active. Find a local candidate that's a good candidate and support them. Get active in their campaign. You know, just not somebody who's saying what you want, but somebody who's got real tangible plans. That's important. That's really going to stand up and advocate for the people in the community. That's what we need, not just in my city where I live, not just in my state, but all over, all throughout our country. That's what we need. True patriots that are willing to stand up to the government and say, we've had enough of your monkey shine. We've had enough of your BS. You've gotten too big. You've got too much regulations. You've got too much control over our life. We want you out of our life. We want you out of our hair. We want you to be so small that you fit in the palm of our hand and we could crush you if we need to. Because right now we've got a bloated behemoth that is squishing the people. Okay, and that's how our government is, especially in my state. And if you live in California, in there too, it's real big bad. But I hear that different places like Oregon and Washington and other states are either very bad or getting real close. So we got to take a stand now. Wherever you are is where you need to stand now. Okay, don't move off your square. Stand up and fight and push back, because we have to get involved in the political situation where we live, because nobody is going to do it. That's why you mad? You mad? You don't think you want to participate in government? You don't want to vote or whatever? You mad? Well, that's good. I'm glad you're mad. Now go get active, because if you're not going to do it, clearly ain't nobody else going to do it. So maybe it's you. Maybe you're the person that needs to fix it in your area. Okay, and that's what we really need to have a serious conversation about. But I'll catch you guys later. I love you all. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. If you have not hit the like button, hit the like button right now. If you have not dropped a comment, drop a comment right now. And I'll catch you guys later. Stay tuned. Be blessed and be well. Remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action.